All right, good evening, everyone. Let's talk relapse prevention. So, today's group, I'm going to talk about just that relapse prevention, but the different steps and the different stages of relapse and other things that come with it. Like, for instance, we have here the emotional relapse, mental relapse, and physical relapse. I'm going to talk about each one of those. I'm going to give a little bit about myself and my experience with those, and just give my insight as far as how we can overcome it and things of that nature. So today, if you're in recovery or trying to stay clean, you know that relapse is always lurking. But today, we're going to break down the biggest relapse triggers and exactly how to handle them. Think of this as your safe space, your meeting, or your time to reflect. And anything I'm talking about today, guys, please drop a comment and I will address your question or anything you want to bring to it, or maybe you feel like something I could be doing better. I'm all for constructive criticism as well. So, emotional relapse. What's that? This stage occurs before an individual occasionally thinks about using again. Common signs include poor self care, bottling up emotions, isolating from support systems, neglecting healthy routines, and experiencing mood swings. While there is no direct intent to use unresolved emotions, can set the stage for future relapse if not addressed. So, emotional relapse. So, we have sometimes emotional users. I remember when I was working at a different treatment center that I'm working now, and I had this young lady, and she wasn't necessarily an alcoholic, but every time she'd argue with her dude or something that's highly emotional, she'd get in the car, go to the bar, drink, and get in the car and drive. She was dealing with her second DUI. So I had to respond to this young lady because the way she was going, she was about to become an alcoholic behind her emotions. So once we can get our emotions under control, I believe it's definitely easier to move forward as far as our addiction or of things of that nature. But when it comes to relapse, emotional relapse, we can loss of job, loss of relationship, loss of a family member. All that has high emotions that make us want to get high because I don't want to feel it. So what I do, stuff my feelings in bottles. See, I stuffed my feelings in bottles for years. I was in my addiction for 10 plus years. And anytime I think about the children I wasn't taking care of, who I could have been, and where my life could have taken me, when I drink, it make me feel better. See, a lot of times our addiction can be easily caught up in our emotions, and if we don't watch it, we'll be constantly in this emotional relapse or just an emotional addiction. Meaning, every time I'm dealing with something emotionally, I'll be getting high or getting drunk. So that's one step when it comes to relapse, emotional relapse, right? So the second one I want to talk about today is mental relapse. So during this stage, individuals start experiencing cravings and internal conflict. Part of them wants to remain in recovery, but the other part may romanticize past substance use. So I can't think myself out of a situation that thought me into the situation. For instance, if I still had the same level of thinking, once I leave treatment or even in the beginning steps of my recovery, I ain't changing how I'm thinking or even my behaviors, more than likely you will have a mental relapse before you actually relapse. Now, I'll give you my experience because I relapsed before as part of my journey. Now, know that relapse is not a part of recovery, but relapse is a part of your journey. So 'cause sometimes you get that mixed up. It wouldn't make sense if it was part of recovery. It didn't want to be recovery, right? So I remember I was at work. I was about 6 months clean. I was part of the fellowship, which I'm still part of that same fellowship now. But it was no cloud on the horizon. It was nothing really going on. Everything was fine. And I remember telling myself I'm gonna drink today. Now, when I told myself that, it was about 5 p.m., maybe 4. I didn't drink until about 6 or 7. Multiple hours to call somebody to do something, but mentally I already put in my mind that I was going to get high and drunk that day. And that's exactly what I did. So mental relapse is dangerous ultimately because our minds, wherever our minds think, most likely our body will follow. So you gotta be careful with the thoughts as far as when it comes to mental relapse, and the things you're thinking. So another part of romantic past substance use, Warning signs including thinking about people, places, and experiences associated with past use. So a lot of times what our minds will do, it'll revert us back to when it was good. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you guys that it was always bad. The beginning of my journey, I took my first drink. I started drinking a little bit here as a teenager. I won't say 16, 17, or 18, but I didn't start drinking heavily till I was 19. So 16, 17, 18, it was fun. I was house parties, kickbacks. It was just functions like that. So my brain wanted to take me back to that time, saying it's gonna be like that again. Our disease is the only one that tells us we don't have one. That's what the disease of addiction will do to you. Oh man, you don't really have a problem like that. It wasn't alcohol. This is what your mind's going to tell you. It wasn't alcohol. It was her. It was him. It was that job. It was that person that kept bothering you. It was this. It was that. It's going to blame everything around you so you can keep that addiction with you. So trying to think about when it was good thinking about when it was good can keep you in that loop. It really was never good. And if it was, like I said, it was probably a brief moment. Once again, I'm not going to sit here and act like it wasn't. 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. It was times that it was good times. I was partying with family, of course. I crossed that visible line, which we always do when it comes to alcohol or drugs, when you got to have it. See, alcohol or drugs it was recreational. Then it became a necessity. So I had to drink to feel normal. I wasn't even drinking to buzz no more. Towards the end of my run, I was drinking to feel normal, because that's the only way that I can interact with people. That's the only way I can go to work. Even being involved with my partner sexually, like she'll be like, "What's wrong with you?" And if I didn't have a drink, I was just really on edge. So ultimately, that not only the mental relapse, just the mentality that addiction play on our mental is dangerous, because once our mind is gone, it's a tricky place to be in. So downplaying the consequences and actively planning a possible relapse, it becomes harder to reset temptation without proper innovation. So I'm tempted. Maybe I'm hanging around some folks that are using. Maybe even possibly your family might not have an alcoholic addiction. They probably just drink at functions with family and stuff like that, but you're around and it's triggering you. So at that point, you might see your family drinking and be like, you don't drink with your family. But then you drink a week later. See, where it started was at that party with your family. And I never talked to nobody about how I was feeling inside, because I didn't want nobody to know what I was going through ultimately. So mental relapse, that's stage 2. Now, 3 I want to talk about is the physical relapse. We understand what that is, but let me get into it. This is the final stage when a person starts using again. It often begins with the lapse using just once, which can quickly spiral into full-blown relapse if not addressed. At this point, individuals may abandon coping skills, recovery strategies, leading to a return to addictive behaviors. Now, behaviors play a heavy part. Let me touch on that briefly. See, before I picked up marijuana at 13, because that's when first substance I ever picked up was marijuana at 13, I was already lying, stealing, and cheating. I was manipulating my mother. I was lying to my mother, and let me show you. It's in the small lies. He'd be like, "Oh, Mom, my stomach hurt. I can't go to school today." She fell for it. "Oh, okay, baby, go in there and lay down. My stomach don't hurt. I want to stay home and play Nintendo. I want to play PlayStation." But the fact that I was able to lie and manipulate my mother in that small sense, I started doing it on a higher scale as I got older. Behaviors. A lot of times we have these behaviors most likely before your addiction started. Just your addiction enhanced it. So, and it says right here, at this point, individuals may abandon coping skills and recovery strategies. So I'm not even utilizing my coping skills at this point. Once I'm in that physical relapse, so I'm not recovery strategies. That's all out the window. What my sponsor has told me, what my counselor said, what my family said. Once I take a hit or a drink, that's out the window. The ball is rolling. Yeah, I don't want to hear nothing else at that point. So, relapse prevention strategies. Preventing relapse involves recognizing warning signs and implementing effective strategies to maintain recovery. Some key relapse prevention techniques include Developing self-awareness. Are you aware of the things around you that trigger you? Do you understand that your partner that still smokes weed, that probably triggers you? When you go to your family house and they drink a little bit, that probably triggers you. It's certain things you go through that's probably triggering you, not understanding like why I'm still in this addiction, or I'm still in the phase. I quit for a little while, I go right back to it. Most likely something to do with your surroundings. Developing self-awareness. So another one, building sober support, one of the most important ones. Guys, you must build sober support. The same way that when you was in your addiction, you called the homie, hey bro, you got something? Nah, I don't got nothing. Boom, hang up with him. Call the other homie, hey bro, you got something? Yeah, I got something. See, that's support in our addiction. Somebody gonna got something, so I'm gonna get high, get drunk, right? Same thing we need when it comes to sober support. Somebody you can hang out with, somebody you can talk to, bounce ideas off of. Because in the beginning, I didn't need nobody to talk me into no BS. I can perfectly talk myself into it. So you know what I'm saying? If I don't have somebody to bounce these ideas off of, I'm gonna bounce it off myself. I'm already telling myself bad things. Then I'm gonna continue to tell myself bad things, and trying to just give myself advice. So it's good, especially in the beginning, to have somebody to talk to, sober support. Practicing self-care. So this is pretty easy. Wash your butt, wash your face, brush your teeth. See, some of them things start to lack when we're in our addiction. I'll be the first to say it. I'm going to the liquor store before I brush my teeth. And I might not brush my teeth that day. I might not wash my butt that day. I'm going to the liquor store. See, that was most important. See, when it comes to our addiction, anything outside of our addiction is coming third. So if you was in a relationship in your addiction, promise you, that person came third. Using coping strategies. So this is engaging in mindfulness, grounding techniques, and healthy distractions can redirect urges and reduce cravings. Engaging in mindfulness and grounding techniques. So it got the five senses. Go to the park, go play a little basketball. Anything that can get you outside of that mind state of addiction can help, and that's coping strategy. And there's so many. I always say develop a coping strategy that you can use anywhere. One that if you have a coping strategy you can use at court, then that's something you can use anywhere. I'll say something that you can do there, it will be great. Creating relapse prevention plan. Now, a structured plan outlining steps to take when faced with triggers can be safety net in challenging times. So let's say you're going out with some friends, 6 months sober, 3 months sober, whatever it is. And your friends are not alcoholics or addicts like you. So they might smoke their little weed. They might drink their little drink. So if it begins to be too much, first of all, if you think you can't do it, don't go. That's first and foremost. But if you feel like, okay, I'm in a good place, I'm strong, have a relapse prevention plan. Have a plan for you to get out. Who can I call? Who can I count on when it comes to me feel like using? You know what I'm saying? I think that's very important. So those are just some of the strategies to help you. But relapse is not a sign of failure. I want you to know that. Relapse is not a sign of failure, but an opportunity to learn and reinforce recovery strategies. By recognizing the stages of relapse and employing effective prevention techniques, individuals can build solid foundation for lasting sobriety. You must build a solid foundation when it comes to you stacking up on your sobriety. If you build on the shaky foundation, we all know that's bound to tip over. So relapse is not a sign of failure. I want you to know that. Look, me personally, and I want my newcomers to take this wrong, but I was so stubborn. I had to relapse to stay sober. And I know that might sound a little backwards, but I had to touch the fire because I didn't believe what my counselor and sponsor was telling me that it was real. I was like, nah, that's not me. It sounds good though, but that's not me. So I went out there and touched that fire again, and I'm here to tell you that I am a recovered alcoholic. And I was an alcoholic when I was in my addiction. And drugs is a part of my story too. So for my addicts, and I don't like to push addicts or recovered alcoholic, because if I'm addicted to alcohol, I'm an addict. So recovered addict, that's what I am, came to accept it. And I love it. I love that I'm able to teach others and spread this love. So please comment, like, and share. Share to someone that really needs to hear this. Comment anything, how many comments you got, I'm gonna reply to all of them. And I understand as my channel grows, it's gonna be harder to do so, but I promise you I'll continue to do that. And I'm always gonna remember the ones who started this journey with me. So once again, thank you for listening to me, and thank you for letting me share My name is Avram, and I'm an alcoholic.